Because of once in a while, like in long century periods, some vast new knowledge comes to the slowly unfolding race of men through cosmically inspired geniuses or men of supervision who have an awareness of reality which lies beyond this universe of illusion. Because of this new knowledge is of such revolutionary nature in its time of coming that the whole system of thought, even unto the entire cosmogonies or something like that, are rendered obsolete, you know. Because of when each cosmic messenger gives such new inspired knowledge to the world, the whole human race rises one step higher on that ladder of unfolding, which reaches from the jungle of man's beginning unto the high heavens of ultimate complete cosmic consciousness and awareness of unity with God, you know. Because of man has ever been transformed by the renewing of his mind with new knowledge, because of given to man since his early beginnings through the Mahabharata, if I'm saying the word right, in Bhagavad Gita of the early Brahmic days, through such ancient mystics as Lao Tzu, Confucius, Zoroaster, Buddha, Plato, Aristotle, because of that's where history comes from. Socrates, Epictetus, Euclid, Muhammad, Moses, Isaiah, and Jesus. I cannot leave him outside of this. Whose cosmic knowledge utterly transformed the practice of human relation of their days, you know. So it found a new day of the gathering of so-called empirical knowledge, which is gained through the senses by research and observation of effect of matter in motion rather than through the consciousness of inspired mind in meditation, which is the way that mystics and geniuses acquire their knowledge. So since the day of Galileo, this undependable method of gaining knowledge through the senses has served to multiply man's reasoning powers by teaching him how to do marvelous things, you know. And electricity and the element of matter, but not one great servant of science can tell why or the cause of his familiar effect. If asked, like today's scientists, if they are asked what electricity, light, magnetism, matter, or energy is, they frankly answers like, I don't know. And if science actually does not know the why or what or cause of these essentials, it necessarily follows that it is admittedly without knowledge, so to say. So it is merely informed, but information gathered through the senses is not knowledge, because of the senses, because of the senses sense only effect, you know, because of knowledge confined to the cause of, it's confined to the cause of effect, you know. So the senses are limited to a small range of perception of the effects which they sense. And even that small range is saturated with this deception and distortion created by illusion of motion. So it is impossible for the senses to penetrate any effect to ascertain its cause. for the cause of illusion, because of it's not within effect, if you get me. So for this reason, the entire mass of so-called empirical knowledge, which science has gained by reasoning through the senses, it means it's invalid. And let us examine this, because of some of these conclusions which form the basis of scientific theory, and see why all present theory is invalid and why its entire structure has no resemblance to either nature's law or its processes. I will now enumerate some of these unnatural theories, because of there are basic misconceptions of science, of which you can say the cardinal error of science lies in shutting the creator out of his creation. This one basic error topples the whole structure, because of for out of it, all of the other misconceptions of light, matter, energy, electricity, magnetism, and atomic structure have grown. And if science knew what light actually is, instead of the waves and corpuscles of incandescent, if I'm saying the word right, incandescent suns, which science now thinks it is, a new civilization would arise from that one fact alone. So light is not waves which travel at 186,000 miles per second, which science says it is, nor does light travel at all, because of the light of incandescent suns is but an effect of one of the two equal opposed electric pressure conditions which interweaves this universe into visible solid and liquid surrounded by the invisible gases of space. So these two opposite electric conditions which form the basis of the constitution of matter are the compressed condition of gravity pressure and the expanded condition of radiation pressure. So these two electric conditions are the equal and opposite pressure which make motion imperative, and without which motion is impossible. So the positive electric condition compresses large volumes of light waves into small volumes by winding them up centripetally, if I'm saying the word right, into spiral vortices by thrusting inward from without. So that is what gravitation is. So the negative electric condition expands small volumes of light waves into large volumes by unwinding them centrifugally into voiding equators where matter disappears. So that is what radiation is. So radiation thrusts outwardly from within to depolarize matter and void motion. So the light of suns and the dark of space are but two opposite conditions of the same thing. So they interchange constantly. Each becomes the other sequentially. So science excluded God from its consideration because of the supposition that God could not be proven to exist by laboratory methods, So this decision is unfortunate, for God is provable by laboratory methods. So the locatable motionless light, which man mistakenly calls magnetism, is the invisible but familiar light, which God is, and with it, he controls his universe, as we shall see. So there are misconceptions of electromagnetism. The Einstein theory of the constitution of matter conceived this universe to be one great ocean of electromagnetism, out of which and into which flow the streams of gravitation, matter, and energy. So radiation, equal and opposite mate of gravitation, without which gravitation is impossible, is entirely ignored in this fantastic and unnatural concept. So equally fantastic is the claim of this theory that it is possible to have gravitation without matter, and for space to exist without gravity or without matter. So the weak point in this theory is the fact that electromagnetism is not an existence force in nature, nor are the electromagnetic fields or magnetic fields. So wave fields are electric, exclusively electric. So electricity is the only force which God makes use of to create this universe, and the only two tools God makes use of for creating his universe of matter and motion are two pairs of opposed spiral vortices. One of these opposite pairs meets at apices at wave amplitude to create spheres of matter, and the other opposed pair meets at cone bases upon wave axis to void both matter and motion. And these two pairs of opposed electric spiral vortices are the basic unit which contract all matters. So together they form electric wave of motion which create the various pressure conditions which are needed to produce the many seemingly different elements of visible and invisible matter. So electricity is divided into two equal and opposite forces which thrust away from each other to build this polarized universe. So when inability to thrust away from each other overtakes its sequential turn in the pulse of the universal heartbeat, depolarization voids all opposition. So thus this universe consists of cycles of life followed by death, growth followed by decay, and generation followed by radiation, each expressed simultaneously and repeated sequentially forever without end. So that which science calls magnetism and believes to be a force which has the power of lifting tons of steels is God's still light which balances and controls the equality of electric division, so as to say. But electricity alone performs all of the work of this universe. The magnetic light which controls the universal balance performs no work whatsoever. So a bar magnet picks up nails because of the electric current which divided the steel into its activated polarized condition, and not because of its focal poles of silliness which center its two activities. Even though the electric current has been withdrawn, there still retains its electric activity for long periods and acts as though the current still remained. So magnetic light control might be likened to the rudder of a ship which controls the direction of the ship's motion without in any way motivating that motion. So it might again be likened to the fulcrum which extends its power of expression through motion to a lever. So without in any way acting to motivate that expressed motion of the lever, God's still magnetic light is the fulcrum of this creating universe, so as to say. So electricity is the two-way lever which extends from that fulcrum to give the universe its pulsing heartbeat of simulated life, death sequences, So wherever God's light appears in matter, there stillness centers motion, but there is no motion at that point. The center of gravity is a spherical sun, or Earth is one locatable point where God's light is, Likewise, the two still centers of north and south spiral vortices are other locatable balancing points of control. Likewise, the shaft which connects all parts of opposed poles is an extension of stillness from the zero of wave beginning to the zero of wave amplitudes, and the return of motion to the zero of its beginning in the stillness of its homing place on its wave axis. This is a universe of light at rest from which two opposed lights of motion appear to manifest the idea which eternally sealed in the light at rest. So the misconception of energy, failure to recognize that this universal body of motion matter has been created by some power outside of itself, has led science to conclude that the energy which creates matter is within itself. Even more erroneous is the conclusion that energy is a condition of matter, such as heat. So this fallacy had led to the conclusion that creation will disappear when heat energy runs down. Of which I'm like, but anyway, the first and second laws of thermodynamics are built upon this obviously wrong conclusion. The universe will never run down. I'm like, so it is as eternal as God is eternal. This universe of matter in motion is a mind-conceived, mind-creating body. As such, it is as much a product of mind as a pair of shoes, So a poem, a symphony, or a tunnel under a mountain is a product of the mind which conceived it, So a motivated, or how can I say it? And motivated the action which produced it as a formed body of matter, if you understand me. So the poem is not the poet. However, nor is the symphony its composer. In like sense, this universe is not its own creator. So whatever qualities or attributes there are in any product, whether it be an adding machine or a universe, have been extended to that product by their creator to manifest qualities, attributes, and energies which are alone in the creator of that product. Nor is the idea which matter manifests within matter. Idea is never created. Idea is a mind quality. Idea never leaves the omniscient light of mind. Idea is but simulated by matter in motion. Idea never leaves its invisible state to become visible matter. So bodies which manifest idea are made in the image of their creators' imaginings. So every creation, whether of God or man, is an extension of its creator. It is projected from him by force which is within its creator and not in the projected product, if you get me. So all of the knowledge, energy, and method of creating any product are properties of mind alone. So there is no knowledge, energy, life, truth, intelligence, substance, or thought in the motion which matter is, So misconception of matter, like electric matter, is but a mirror which reflects qualities outside itself to simulate those qualities within itself. So in the mind of any creator of any product is the idea of the formed body which mind desires to produce. So also the knowledge, energy, and method of production are in the mind of the creator of that product and not in the product. So the architect does not say that the energy, idea, or construction methods are in the temple of his conceiving, nor should men say that they are in the temple of God's conceiving. To thus claim that energy is a property of matter is to deprive the creator of his omnipotence and omniscience. So The entire universe manifests power, but the universe is not the power which is manifested. Not one particle of matter which constitutes the material body of any product can move of itself. It can move only through desire and command of the mind of its creator extended to it electrically. So the powers of attraction and repulsion, which science mistakenly attribute to matter, are electrical effects performing their one and only function of dividing an equilibrium into two opposing conditions which extend equally from a dividing equator. So magnetic light controls the balance of these two opposing conditions, which interchange two ways in their endeavor to avoid their opposing condition. But the stresses and strains which seem to make matter attract and repel matter are electric effects. So electric effects of motion can be insulated from each other, but the magnetic light of the creator, which causes those effects, cannot be insulated from matter by matter. So all matter is electric, and electricity conditions all matter under the measured control of one magnetic light, which forever balances the two electrically divided conditioned light of matter and space. So divided matter strains to find balance in the zero of equilibrium from which it was divided. The senses of man are mightily deceived by the illusions of appearance, which causes him to conclude otherwise. So Newton's apples was not attracted to the ground by gravitation. The high potential condition of that solid apple sought a similar high potential condition. That is to say, it fell toward the earth to fulfill nature's law of seeking or had Newton sat with the apple for a week or two, he would have seen that same apple rise, unto the heavens as a low potential gas seeking low potential position to balance its electrical. So its electrical divided state, So the rising of the decaying, expanding apple fulfills nature's law of seeking seeking or let's to say. So all polarizing bodies add to their densities and potentials. The apple which fell to the ground was a polarized body. All polarized bodies must reverse their polarities and depolarize, So they then lose their densities and potentials. The depolarized apple returns to the zero of its beginning. So the Newtonian law is in this respect invalid because it accounts for but one half of the apple's growth decay cycle. So this is a two-way universe of opposed effects of motion, not a one-way universe. So misconception of substance in matter, sense of observation, has led to the erroneous conclusion that there are 92 different substances of matter. So this universe is substanceless, It consists of motion only. So motion simulates substance by the control of its opposing wave pressures of motion, which deceives the senses into seeing substance where motion alone is. So the senses do not reach beyond the illusion of motions, nor do those who believe that they can gain knowledge of the secrets of this vast make-believe universe even faintly comprehend the unreality of this mirage of polarized light in motion, which they so firmly believe is real. So motion is two-way, for all motion is caused by division of an equilibrium and its extension in two opposite directions to create the two opposite conditions of pressures necessarily to make motion imperative. So One of these two conditions of electric motion, thrust inward toward a center to create a centripetal vortex to simulate gravity. On the other side of dividing equator, the other condition, thrust outward from a center to create a centrifugal vortex to simulate vacuity, vacuity. So moving waves of oppositely conditioned matter simulate substance, but there is no substance to the motion which simulate idea in matter. So if cobweb could move fast enough, it would simulate a solid steel disc and it could cut through steel. If such a thing could happen, it would not be the substance of the cobweb which cut through the steel. It would be the motion which cut it. So fast moving short waves simulate solid, while slow moving long waves simulate the gases of space which surround solid. So waves of motion are substanceless, however, they merely simulate substance. So motion itself is controlled by the mind of the creator, who uses it to express his desire for simulating idea of mind by giving it a formed body. So there is no other purpose for motion. Desire in the light of mind for creative expression is the only energy in this universe. So all motion is mind motivated. All motion records mind's thoughts in matter. So all matter is but pressure conditioned motion. Varying pressure conditioned yield varying state of motion. Varying state of motion are what science misinterprets as the element of matter. Varying pressure in a wave are tonal. So in each octave wave, there are 4 pairs of tones, each of which has the same relative position in its octave color spectrum as it has in its octave of chemical element. Waves are therefore electric pressure conditioned octave of tone. So this is where Walter Russell talks about the secret of the age. So by simple step, the supreme mystery of all time to enable science to avoid the conclusion which has arisen from its inability to relate the reality of the invisible universe to its simulation of reality, which has so regrettably deceived the senses of observers for all time. So, for the great need of religion, which so solely need a God who can be known by all men as one, to replace the many imagined concepts of God which have so disastrously disunited the human race. No one save the few mystic of long ages has ever known God or God's ways, Neither has mankind yet known the meaning of love upon which the universe is founded, nor of life which the electric universe simulates in never-ending cycles, nor of cause of the effect for which man so heavily pays in tears and anguish for his not knowing, nor the constitution of matter, nor of God's invisible processes in the creation of pressure for conditioning matter. So the long heralded peace which passeth understanding awaits for science to tear away the veil which has for so long hidden the face of the Creator. So religion can be united as one only by the dispelling the ignorance which now cloaks the faith and belief, God of fear which has bred so many intolerant groups of unknowing men. So we speak familiarly about the spiritual, invisible mind universe of the Creator, and we speak with equal familiarity about the physical universe of matter, which we call creation. But the world has not yet known either of them. separately, nor their unity as one, to sufficiently define either of them scientifically. So I will now do this as simple as possible in order that the physical of tomorrow can know and comprehend the universe as one whole instead of sensing it as many separate parts which will never be able